I show it to be 6:04. This is a regular meeting of the Eastland City Commission for June 20th. I've asked Cecil to lead us in a prayer and JJ the pledge. Cecil.
Father, thank you for this opportunity this evening to get together to make decisions on behalf of the citizens of Eastland. Father, we just ask for your guidance and direction in all things that we say and do and in any decisions that are made. Hope that we ask that they be pleasing in your sight. Father, we ask for your blessings on our country and on our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I don't have anything up here for public comment, so we'll approve the minutes of the May 16th and June 1st meetings. You've got those in front of you.
Move that the minutes of May 16th and June 1st be approved as presented.
Second.
Got a motion from Cecil and a second for Ben. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Financial report.
We're going along. Our sales tax finally hit a little bump. We actually were down 0.12%. And that's the first time we've been down at all this fiscal year.
That's still not very much of a decrease.
It's not very much of a decrease, but we're still running quite a bit ahead of last year, as you can see from your reports. So it was a little bump. It'll be interesting to see how things go in the next few months with pricing and the economy the way it is. As far as our stuff goes, we're kind of rocking along like normal. I made some notes on the budget summary because we've had some grant revenue come in, but we haven't expended all of it, so that skews our numbers a lot. So I've made an adjustment on there for that. You'll notice in the budget column that we're off $10,750 in the general fund and $2,000 in the utility fund. That was errors on our spreadsheets when we did the budget, and I didn't catch it until recently, so we'll be making budget amendments for that. We added some line items and they didn't get picked up in the totals.
How much is that account for?
We were off we have in the, oops, where'd it go? In the general fund, you know, we've been showing zero, you know, what comes in goes out. And in the general fund, we're showing that we're going to have $10,000 more expenditures than revenues. And in the utility fund, we're showing that we're going to have $2,000 more revenue than expenditures.
Budget.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Any other questions for Leslie? Thank you, Leslie. The Board of City Commissioners may discuss and take action on the following agenda items. Item number 1, discuss consideration of Janessa Camacho to present the fiscal year 2023 contract request for Eastland County Crisis Center. Do you think you get a bonus for being the first one? Is that what this plan is?
Well, I did bring y'all additional materials this year. This is something we did at the end of our fiscal year. And I think it's kind of just important for y'all to see. It gives you a little bit of perspective over how how our funds are utilized, what percentage comes from our cities and our contributions, how we allocate that, how we allocate even the admin expenses, which we always try to keep low. We always try to get that revenue of 60 to 65% on our program side. And then, so what the cities and the counties contribute to us goes under this program expenses, because that is part of our unrestricted funding that isn't supported by grants. And so you can kind of see how we utilize that, and then what we did in that last fiscal year. And then on the back, we just have our funding priorities, our program priorities, just sort of our vision moving forward. So y'all have always been so gracious in signing the contract with us every year. But since it is about money, I thought it might not be a bad idea to kind of see how we're actually utilizing our funds. So hopefully we'll be able to present this to y'all every year.
Cool.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How are federal and state grants coming along compared to last year?
Well, that's a tricky question. Because we have 3 grants on our adult side that fund us. 2 were in the middle of a 2-year cycle. So they actually committed to us at the start of FY22, which we're currently in, and they'll roll through this year, and then we'll be applying for new ones next spring. So I'm not sure what it's going to look like then. The 3rd grant, we've asked for more funds, but we don't know if we will actually get that. And then the other 2 that fund our CAC side, they're funneled through Texas as a pass-through, and they have a matrix, and they run the numbers in our county and how many services we provide, and they actually tell us this is how much money you get, and then we budget it out from there. So I won't really know how hard it is until next spring for most of that, just seeing what comes back on that 3rd adult side one that we asked for, and then what the other 2 end up looking
You've
like.
been with the Crisis Center for how long?
I've been there since 2015, since I came back.
All right, during those 7 years, have you seen a decrease in funding from the federal and state?
I can tell you,
Okay.
because I only started dealing with budgets in 2019 as the program director, and then I just looked at my side, and I've only have this year to compare it to. I think they try to be competitive, but if it's raised or decreased, and sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. I mean, sometimes we may ask for 75,000. They may come back with 85. They may come back with 65. Like, it's just, and then our budget process goes all the way through December, just waiting to see.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I may ask, just for curiosity's sake, under program expenses, it says including payroll, and under administrative expenses, it says including payroll. So are the program expenses the people that take care of your programs and their
They are our
salary?
direct service line advocates.
And
that are-
their salary goes in that pocket? And then the administrative part, doing your grants or what you're doing tonight or those type things, are split out in a separate payroll category?
Those go across people that function largely for administrative, so the finance grant, a portion of mine, because I do both.
Yeah.
That's my next question, okay. I was
But
curious.
most of our staff is direct services.
Yeah,
That's most of our staff, like many of my staff aren't even budgeted to do admin work. So they have a little bit of clerical time, which is updating your timesheet or checking your email or making, just general office copies. But most of theirs, I would say probably about 90% of their salary is direct services, whether it's education or working directly with kids.
I think y'all do a wonderful job.
Oh,
And are a
we
huge
have a
asset
lot
in
of-
this community, in this county.
Thank you. And I will say one of the things we were able to do as well this year with our local funding, and why we always try to seek it, is because there's a lot of restrictions on what our grants won't pay for. And having unrestricted funding allows us to even provide services to people that marginally may meet our service criteria. For example, like in the fires, we were able to provide some financial assistance there. Because the approach that we've taken is this money comes from our community, so when we can,
Fund this.
we want to be able to give back to that as well. So. That's great. Do y'all have any other questions for me?
We thank you for what you do. As I've said before, it's a shame we have to have you, but you're very vital to this community and law enforcement and everything else and what you folks do and help our community. The people that need you, need you.
Thank you.
You do a great job. I can tell you, I'll have to correct that later, because I'm on her board.
Are you?
Yeah. I will say that I can remember a time when Jenny was here the first time, we didn't have forensic interviewers, and we would have to take the kids, and Chief, you
That's
remember
right.
that? We'd have to take the kids to Abilene, because Abilene Police Department had that deal. And so now we've put another additional 2 hours of drive time, not to mention the time up there, trying to figure out how to get all that done. And Gina and I, a lot of times, we're just winging it ourselves. So for us to have that ability to have that forensic interview and have it filmed, and the minute you get done with it, they're handing you a copy of the CD, so you can take it out for your case file, and it's fabulous, absolutely fabulous.
We appreciate you. We'll entertain a motion to go ahead and put this on our budget for JJ to have. You're requesting the same thing you've had in the past, so we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the service agreement with Eastland County Crisis Center and the Eastland County Children's Advocacy Center.
Second.
Got a motion from Cecil and a second from Ben. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm aye for me as well. Anyone opposed? Motion
I
carries.
would like to make a comment on it, though.
Okay.
This organization has been in existence since 1992, and their request to the city for funding has been, just no increases. I really think, and I understand our economy right now, but at some point, I think we need to look at considering an increase for the crisis center.
Okay. So noted.
Ask for more next time.
Okay. Into that business session, we'll talk about the city manager briefing.
Okay. GLO, they're getting everything in line with the archaeological dig, which they will dig 72 holes at the dam, Lake Eastland, Ringling Lake Dam, in the bed of the North and South Fork, Leon Rivers, and Weaver Creek,
With a shovel.
with a shovel, and put it in a bag. They will have 90 days to complete that and have their results turned into the Texas Water Development Board. The Texas Water Development Board has then 15 days, it says 90 days, so basically 105 days total before we get the blessing that they didn't find anything in this dig, and we can proceed with the clearing of the channels and stuff. I was on a call Friday after everything was done in the packets. The Water Development Board and GLO have come to an agreement where both signed off where we can move forward with the property acquisition phase of it. I signed a couple more documents and crossed a couple more T's, but we did move forward on that. The FIF, they're still compiling data on that. You saw some of the issues that they're dealing with in that last meeting we had. We talked about the archaeological dig. Okay, the Durapatcher's here, but we're having an issue with getting the emulsion that goes into the Durapatcher because we cannot hold, we don't have a tank that can hold enough emulsion that they'll sell us right now.
What do they require, 2,000?
600, ain't it?
Well, years ago when we had one, we could take the machine that holds 200 gallons to Brownwood and they fill it up. They won't do that now. So I have to have a truck deliver us a load, which, they may deliver 2,000 or 5,000, whatever, with the truck of hose. But I've got to get this pump fixed up so we can circulate it to keep it from freezing up until we get it all used up. And the electrician is still working on it, so hopefully he'll have something done here in a week or so.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's not that we're not using it, we're just can't get the main component of it to make it work. So, I mean, it seems like it's always something. I mean, I don't know what to say.
being fire chief was easy, wasn't it?
Some days, yes, sir. I had just a few Indians. I'm sure all y'all are aware by now that we sent out a flyer about our water and the things. I want to address a couple things on that. Okay, there's actually two violations on this piece of paper. One's from 2019. That first one is saying that they did not receive our lab results in a timely manner. We have the lab results sitting right there, but Austin says they did not receive them in time. So that was our first thing. And then the second one is we have some high levels of TTHM. Stands for what, Bobby?
Well, it's the trihalomethanes.
Trihalomethanes. And we're working on that right now. One of the issues is the ground storage tank. It's almost too big, and we don't turn over our water fast enough. And to find the right chlorine and ammonia level is when we first got the first high reading. That's where we started. Is we started trying to mess with those. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, please. And we're trying to do the, I guess, most economical fix at first, and it makes it seem like we're not doing anything to correct the issue, but we are. And we think we found an issue, a fix, called a mixer, right?
Yeah, it's just a mixture that keeps the water mixed.
Basically, it's
Agitates it to.
yes in the ground storage
It
tank.
keeps it all mixed in there. I mean, the problem is we have too much water. People use more water, that would solve the problem. But that and heat, and so this will keep it mixed up and should resolve that problem.
Does water, when we get water from the water district, does it not flow through the ground storage tank? Is the ground storage tank kind of off to the side and the water just flowing, the ground storage tank is sitting there? Or that water from the water district flowing through instead with that?
It goes into the ground storage and then from there it pumps to the hooks.
And that's not enough to keep it stirred up?
No, talk to them out there. We're gonna see if they will lower the levels until we get this mixer. And that'll, the pumps will kick off and on more often, but it'll keep it mixed up, so it's not water sitting there for too long. I mean, they're filling up, 30 feet right now. That's a 1 million gallon tank, so there's 750,000 gallons. I don't know what our daily usage is.
It's close to that.
It's only hit 1 million one time so far, I think. this
So
summer.
that water's, a lot of it's just kind of sitting there for a day before it gets pumped out, and we can keep it turned over more often. And that mixture will do this, so.
When is this gonna be resolved?
We ordered it.
It'll take, it's been ordered, it takes a week or so to get here, and then he's got a schedule, so maybe within the month it'll be installed, I hope.
But that won't immediately,
Because it's on a running average.
it's on a running annual average, so we're gonna have several quarters of lower numbers to lower that average.
Yeah, we shouldn't go over 80, I think, and something happened with one of the samples.
But that didn't affect the running average, no, because they just left it out as if it never happened. So they were averaging 3 instead of 4.
Okay.
And I don't understand why they do that, but that's what they do. It's a running average
Well,
of 4.
okay, but I'm looking at the running average, it's already gone down
Yes,
0.1,
yes.
0.07.
And see, they do it quarterly, instead of every month. I mean, we take the samples every month, but then they use a quarterly number and use it that way, so it's gonna take a couple of quarters probably to get it in.
Well, what is the second quarter of 2022? What is that time period?
April.
Well,
Well, they took the sample in
yeah.
first part of May.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not exactly like January, February, March.
Well, it
They
can't
took-
be because we're in the second quarter.
Yeah, they took a sample in February, and then they took a sample in May. And so we're figuring their next sample will be August.
Okay.
I mean, you can see from the first quarter where it was high, I mean, we're gradually chipping away at it. And like me and Bobby talked, it's hard to find that balance because.
Lowering the water level and mixing it better is going to result in lower.
Yes, well, I mean, even with the mixer, right, Bobby, we're gonna go back to where we are right now.
The mixer will keep that tank mixed. I mean,
Yeah.
once it's installed, it'll keep it all mixed up so we can fill it back up to where it needs to be.
But for the time being, we wanna lower the level where it won't hold as much water and for that.
And how much are you lowering it?
5, 6
Just
feet.
lowering it down, if they're filling to 30 feet now, I'd go down to 15 feet. I mean, if something happens, I mean, all those phone calls, hey, turn the pumps on.
But I want to say this about the quality of water. We've actually had very, very good quality of water for the past year. Would you say, Bobby? I mean, compared to the past. So it's a tricky balance because if you boost the chlorine too much, then you do something else to the water. But if you don't do too much, then it does something else, and the ammonia makes. It's got to be a weird balance.
Yeah, it's hard to get it just right and keep it there because, you know, temperature changes, everything's changing. So you're always having to adjust.
Well, but when it gets hotter, it makes it harder to, okay. Okay.
We're sitting there talking about quality of water, and Joe's sitting there thinking about quantity of water.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about quantity as much as I am quality. That's why when you talk about lowering 15 feet in this ground storage tank, I'm there going, yeah, and I hope somebody doesn't cut a water line or blow a water line out.
And, you know, it shows only 2 testing sites. There are only 2 testing sites, but everybody drinks the same water throughout the town. I
You
mean,
need Joe to go fill his fire trucks up from the ground storage tank.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, sit there and stir it up right there on the spot.
right, Bobby, I mean, these are the 2 that they pull from every quarter,
Yeah, same ones.
same ones.
Those 2
Just
addresses?
to clarify, is the water potable and drinkable right now?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Always has been.
It never has not been.
Yeah. No, we're fine there. I mean, we've all seen government intervention. They make it more and more difficult. I mean, like, we had a discussion this morning. People drink TTHMs for hundreds and hundreds of years, so.
Do we need to make some kind of a public,
And just to let everybody know, we send water samples every week
Yeah,
to Abilene.
well, they test, there's all different samples. There's a daily test, there's a monthly test, there's quarterly tests. I mean, it's tested every day. Just different times. So,
How many samples do the guys pull a day?
Well, that, he does 2 or 3, I'm not sure exactly, and then I got one guy that's all he does is do testing.
What do we need to tell the public?
I think you tell the public, the water's fine. It's safe. I mean, we are working to fix this one issue that they're hitting us on. And it's just basically because we're not stirring the water once it gets to us. And it's just sitting a little too long.
I should have brought the CCR back here. On July 1st, we have to send out our annual water quality report, postcards. And it's already posted on our website. And so people can go in there and look at the annual water quality report that has to be prepared. And it shows, on our report, we have to show what the water district, some numbers from the water district and their violations. If they had a violation, we have to show it on our report. But it's specified which ones are their numbers and violations, and then our numbers and violations.
And that report's already posted on the website.
It's already posted on the website.
What does it say?
We had one violation, which I think is one of those, because it's the reporting one, because this is for the year 2021, from January to December of 2021. And the TTHMs happen in 2022, so that'll be on next year's water quality report. And so that's the only violation that we're showing. The water district has a couple of violations.
What is TCEQ, is who we're talking
Yes, sir.
about?
Yes, sir.
Who is responsible for sending the reports to them? You said that we had the lab results, but they didn't.
Depending on which sample it is. The quarterly ones, the state hires a company, they come out, take the samples, they're totally in charge of it. I mean, we just sign off when they do it. They put it in their ice chest and then take it to the lab. So they do all that.
Now, the report that we got written up for, I'm not sure what happened. The guys do the report, they bring it to me, and I send it to the TCEQ.
Okay, all right.
So there's the problem.
I used to keep a copy of it, but they keep a copy of it, so it was just like duplicate paperwork. And so I don't know if we had somebody new and we just sent it late, but we did it on time. They had the report in their notebook.
You're talking about the 2019 one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't remember the one.
Yeah, I mean, because y'all pulled the
Yeah,
one we got
it was in
wrote
the
up on.
book.
It's in the
The
book.
report was in
I
the
want
book.
to make
They
it
just
public.
said they didn't get
Public
it, so.
deal. I want to write something up, tell the public what's going on, what we do, the pain the city goes through. They get this and think our water's crap. Someone made that comment to my wife today, walking down the street. And and I know that's not the case. I wish they were taking, because they take water samples from my house. You know, they can use my house one day. I wish it was in my house they took it from. Everybody goes, the mayor's house has got crap. The mayor's got crappy water. But let's come up with some kind of a simple explanation. We don't need to make it where it takes a PhD to figure it out. But just tell them, this water is measured constantly, every other day, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, all those things that go into that. And these reports are, it is what it is, but we're fighting hard. And I think one of the things, we finally got the ground storage tank online and working, and it didn't always work. It wasn't a problem at one time, it didn't have much water in it. But now we finally got the ground storage tank, which is what we want to do, so we can help protect the city if we have a water line break, and now here this is. It's a catch-22, danged if you do, danged if you don't type of deal. But we need some kind of
It's been years since we've been written up for TTH. I mean, years, I can go back and look, but it's been years.
Well, and I think that's important, but it also really doesn't matter. The public sees this in the mail this week, and our water's crap.
Yeah.
We need some kind of a explanation of some kind. And this one looks bad because it's a 2-quarter, it's like we didn't do anything the first quarter.
True.
I mean, that's what it looks like, you know. I know we were probably jumping through hoops trying to figure out what to do, and it's not an overnight fix. But what does the public see?
That we did nothing.
Well,
That's why I wanted to tell you that they're fixing to get something else sent to them. It's not the full report, it's a postcard where they go. Now we don't have to send the full report out. We can send a.
when will they get that?
With a direct link. It has to be mailed by July 1st. So, I don't have the cards yet.
Good.
I'm hoping that we'll get them sent out on the 30th for sure.
All right, we'll talk about that. We wrote that hard long enough. We may send our own card out ahead of theirs. Say, get ready. You're gonna get another report. Here's what it says. Here's what we're doing. We're not asleep at the wheel.
I agree.
Darn new city manager. What else? Who's next? You do? You through?
Well, I'm through well, no, I'm not. We want a little guidance here. Chief, you want to go ahead and take this one over?
Yes, sir. We've talked about this in the past, as far as the golf carts being used on the public streets. And contrary to what you might read on Facebook, it is against the law. What I gave to Mr. Osnick is the DPS's enforcement sheet or enforcement policy sheet that they're giving out to the troopers. And it's pretty specific as to what is permissible and what is not permissible. When you look at the, let me find mine. When you look down on the first sheet, it talks specifically about in a municipality, and this is what they're talking about, is golf. So they have to have a driver's license, they have to have insurance, then it talks about the different equipment that they have to have. And then it goes on to apparel, and then it goes to specifications of operations. And the key part of that says, when approved for operation in a municipality. That is black and white. I mean, it has to be approved to do this contrary to state law. State law obviously says this is what the deal is. People will sit there and say, well, yeah, but Cisco does it. Cisco passed an ordinance that allows that to happen. We have not as a municipality. When you look at the second page, it talks about at the very bottom, or second to the bottom, talks about golf cart within a municipality. And it says that you're going to treat it as a passenger car. It has to have driver's license, insurance, license plate. And then it goes on specifications of operations, and it talks about, you know, what you can allow. Now, what I've told the mayor, what I've told the city manager is the issue that we had, that I specifically had, was that thing was being operated at night and that there were children on it. I don't think that's a safe endeavor either way you go, you know. You're talking about lower profile, smaller vehicle that doesn't have any of the protective shielding that a car does, you know, with the steel doors or anything like that. And a lot of and I had to ask Mr. Osnick, but he claims, I guess I could ask the mayor too, were there any seat belts that come with some of the newer model golf carts, they come with seat belts, and evidently there's not.
Yes, there is.
So
Golf carts can be equipped with seatbelts.
Okay.
I saw a golf cart in Granbury, Texas with seatbelts. I actually saw the windshield wiper on it first, looking across the showroom. Saw the windshield wiper and said, dang, what is that? when I looked at seatbelt, and I said something to them, and they said it's designed, I mean, it's fully equipped to be driven in a golf course community type area. It's not here in Eastland, Texas type thing, but in a golf course community. And that's what it was today, that the people are getting them right and left. Can't sell them fast enough. So it's fully equipped to be safe, and that's a different story, but they can come with them, yeah.
Yeah, they can come.
Yes.
That's the whole deal. So I don't know what they do.
That's not standard equipment. They're
That's not
buying that
standard.
for that specific purpose.
So you're talking about if there is a collision, obviously you're without the seatbelts on there, you're pretty much going to be ejected out of the vehicle. And if you got kids in there, they're going to be ejected out of the vehicle. I think just for clarification purposes, and I met, Dan and I met with the city manager, and met with Tony, and our deal was, even though the state law says you can't do it, we think that there's some benefit to the city saying, pursuant to state law, we are not allowing the operation of golf carts, ATVs, UTVs, or whatever, in the city limits of Eastland, and reference the state law. Or go the opposite direction and say, we're going to allow it, but we're going to allow it under these circumstances. So then you can go back, and obviously, and Chief Funderburg will tell you, the state, the city can come back and make the state law more restrictive. Can't make it less restrictive, but you can make it more restrictive, where you can go up there and say, wait, you got to have you're ready for the inspection, and if you're going to be driving around town with kids on there, they have to be seatbelted in. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff, and the one incident that all this came up about was the things being operated at night, and so you're talking about a vehicle that sits lower to the ground, the headlights are lower to the ground, visibility's not as good as a passenger car is, or passenger truck.
Real quick, just to clarify, when you're saying you don't want it to be used, you're talking about on roadways, right-of-ways, easements, not necessarily on private property?
No, this is, all of this, and thank you, Tony, this has nothing to do with the lawful operation of that on a golf cart, or on private property, or in the county, or whatever, or on your private property. I mean, if
On our city streets.
Yeah, Mr. McNabb got one at his pharmacy over there because he loads the trash up and runs it over the back. I mean, we don't care. It's the operation of that on a public street and how that interacts with the other traffic that's out there. And so my deal is I think we just need clarification one way or another. If you guys want to do it, then we'll do it. And if you guys don't want to do it, then we'll don't do it.
What's your recommendation?
I don't think Chief, I've got concerns about the safety issue. That's my only deal, and I've heard every argument about why you should, but that's the one that I keep circling back to, is that's my job, is public safety. It's not convenience, it's not anything else, it's public safety. So that's where I keep going back, and I think I speak for the lieutenant. I don't want to speak for the fire chief, but I don't know if he's got specific ideas about that or not.
I have no comment on that.
Okay.
I have a question. You said it says it has to have insurance?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, most people have it insured like for value, but do they have some kind of insurance?
Like liability?
Liability?
It would have to be
Specifies
liability.
in the law.
Yeah.
It does specify, okay.
Yeah, because you've got what started this whole deal are these golfing communities. And, the primary transportation around the golfing community is on a golf cart. But the law, like I said, this is why I wanted you guys to have this, because the law is specific, the state law is specific. But we still keep getting questions, and Tony just Friday got some questions about this same issue. Of course, it was from the same gentleman, but got that same issue, and he said, well, you need to talk to the police department about the deal. So I got all this stuff together that I'd gotten from months before from Sergeant Foster with the Highway Patrol, and I told him, I said, man, so we're having this issue, and he said, well, it's against the law. I said, I understand. I said, but evidently there's...
Well, you say it's against the law. It's against the law if we don't say, but we can say it is okay.
Yes, you can.
Then it's no longer against the law.
True.
So we can, and so I want to be careful here, and I'm not trying to advocate for this or against it at this point in time, because I think the safety issue is a real point. And if we go down this road, I can tell you sitting here in this chair, I want the law absolutely enforced and no second chance.
Yes, sir.
We'll make a point quickly with people, because number one, you gotta have a driver's license, it's gotta be insured, it's gotta have the lights, be maintained, have a sticker on it, $50 for the sticker, and all those things are gonna be enforced.
Yes, sir.
So people need to understand that right up front.
Yes, sir.
Now, the safety issue, and I've seen wrecks on a golf course with a golf cart, and it can be ugly quick. Golf carts can turn over very easily.
Yes, sir.
Much easier than a car. We've seen that. You've seen the videos and everything else. But I want to be careful saying the state law is prohibited, because it's not if we say it's okay. It is prohibited today.
Today.
That's not a false statement. But as we go down this path, because somebody come throw it in our face or jump on Facebook or whatever, say, well, it is. Eastland said, we're not gonna do it, so we're gonna stick with the state law. Or if that's the path we go down, we're not making that decision tonight. But I want us to be careful saying the state law says the city's gotta have an ordinance to make it legal.
Yes, sir.
Is that?
That's exactly it. And so what we call the arrest title, which there's not actual arrest, it's the citation, would be operation of golf cart where not permitted.
If I get my vehicle licensed, my vehicle has to be inspected. Does the golf cart have to be inspected to get a license?
No.
Okay.
No, it does not.
Maybe it should.
Yeah. No, I mean, where the inspection is going to take place, where the city manager says that inspection is going to take place, and of course he said in Vernon, it was at the city hall, you would drive it up there or you would trailer it up there or whatever.
Be the police department here in Eastland.
Yeah, it would be however you want to do it. I mean, we can do it. And then you're going to check the required equipment that's on there. The other advantage of permitting it, and I'm not advocating it one way or another, I've told you what my opinion is that you can restrict the operation to daytime only hours. That was my big concern the night of this big blowout, was that it was being operated clearly at dark. It was not dusk, it wasn't sundown, it wasn't anything, it was dark. And that is, to me, is a big issue.
It's being operated unsafe, regardless of daytime or nighttime, it's being operated unsafe. That's catch-22 right there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, at nighttime, to me, you're magnifying your issue.
Well, the fun part, if we go down this path, we're gonna put in there, if it's a two-seat golf cart, you can have two riders. You don't get to have somebody standing on the back of it and all that mess, and kids hanging all over it and all that.
Yes, sir.
Because they do that
Yeah.
frequently.
I think this would also be a good opportunity to identify other vehicles that are also in violation based off of that spreadsheet that the chief gave you. This would be something that we could specify all the different items at one time, so we don't have to revisit this again later with side-by-sides or with an ATV or with a UTV. If we're gonna make whatever rule we make, pro or against, it needs to be specified, just because it makes it easier for the officers to deal with, somebody dealing with codes. We know that if it's not spelled out specifically, then it becomes this point of contention.
Okay. Well, we'll get it on the future agenda if we feel like we need to do that.
Okay. Strong has a golf cart ordinance and everything, but they're tiny and they have no traffic on their back streets. But your state highways, of course, it is prohibited. So any of the roads that are considered state, you can't drive down them with a golf cart. You can, in their ordinance, they allow crossing the state highway, that's it, it's a maximum. But that's something to.
The other thing, thank you, Jude. The other thing to consider, Mayor, too, is that we have an existing ordinance that says you can't operate on the sidewalk. So if you're cutting across the state highway, which is, in our case, it's got sidewalks, at least part of the way, then for them to do that a lot of times they have to get up on the sidewalk then to operate. So then you're going to have to address, if you make it permissible, then you're going to have to figure out what to do about the operation on the sidewalk as well.
Well, this deal here says it can be operated on the highway as long as it's less than 35 miles an hour. What's it?
On
We take
the
Main
state
Street.
highway?
Huh?
We take Main Street.
You can't Main Street with me.
I said Main Street's 45.
At that end,
Yes, sir.
not this end. I mean, you can go Seaman, you can go all the way down here
Yes,
to
sir.
Ace Hardware, whatever. Not-
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother, I think we need to have this on the agenda. If we need to go down this path, we want to go down this path, we need to get on the agenda, because we're beating a dead horse right now. And I agree with your safety opinion. You said you don't have an opinion. Yes, you do. And it's a valuable one.
Thank you.
Well, I think if we take action in the way of passing an ordinance, either either for or against, it seems to me we're complicating things.
We're what?
We would be complicating things. I mean, the state law already says that it can't be done.
I didn't say we were going to put it on the agenda. I said if we decide to put it.
If we pass an ordinance saying it can't be done, all we're doing is saying, yes, we agree with state law. If we take no action at all, the state law still there.
We'll see if we need to get on the agenda at a later date. I mean, it's got to have a reason to get on there. And right now, I haven't heard a burning need from our community to say we need to do this.
No, sir.
My phone's not falling off the hook, is yours?
No, sir.
Anybody calling you back there?
And the reason I say to pass, if y'all decide to go that route of no, of passing an ordinance, it just makes it easier for us as a city to go, it's in our ordinance right here, and we can shoot it to them and go, there it is, done. As we reference the state code.
It's online, period.
That's the only reason, because we all know state law can be a little challenging to read and hard to find sometimes.
Well,
That's it.
I've always been opposed to passing laws when the law already exists.
Yes, sir. And I agree 100% with that. But
It's not legal, it's not legal. All the way it's legal, we say we can in the city limits.
Yes,
We
sir.
decide to make it legal in our city.
Yes, sir. And that's also the opinion of the city attorney as well.
Do what?
That's also the city attorney's opinion.
What is?
That for it to be legal, it has to be passed as an ordinance.
Oh,
Make it.
Oh, yeah, for it to be legal.
Yes, sir. That's Ms. Hayden's opinion.
and like the mayor said, we're not making any decisions tonight. We're just
Right.
discussing it.
Like the mayor said, we're beating a dead horse.
Next.
That's all I-
Anything else you want to break while you're here?
No. I will be out of town the first week of July.
Just for your benefit, as our new city manager you've been here for 16 months, we've never had a one-item agenda last 50 minutes. Thought I'd bring, no, this is really a good time to discuss these things we need.
Yes.
I'm just picking on you. But that, we'll worry about that.
I just have one thing, y'all be thinking about that and maybe a direction we need to go if we hear some more outcry for this. That's all I got.
We'll wait till January, see what the county judge says.
It's a city problem, Mayor.
Thank you. Code enforcement, sir.
Yes, started with 39 cases, opened 22, closed 31, so that left us with 30 for the month of May. Had 5 citations issued, had 2 annual notices on the notices that were sent out, $3,546 of fines assessed, 378 were paid. Those were paid with cash and they were not sat out. And do you have any questions?
And he just went 30 seconds. Anybody have any questions for Tony? All right. Chief? Police chief, I guess I better
Yes,
say.
sir. We had 304 calls for service. This new CAT system that we're on is really helping us with the, being able to capture the true activity that we're producing. Before, we were relying on looking at call sheets, and Chief Funderburg, I guarantee you, when he took over as chief here, they were doing call sheets handwritten, and just up until recently, they were doing handwritten call sheets. And so you can see the difference between the calls from this year versus last year. We had a really good month as far as enforcement. And I'll tell you, we had a Kathy Perry's our new animal control officer, and you can see in April she issued 32 citations and 4 warnings, and for May she issued 20 citations and 16 warnings, and this is on top of losing her. She didn't lose her house was heavily damaged in the fire in Ranger, and so she was still coming to work. She was still getting the job done. I talked to Timmy Nichols, my admin and former ACO, and I said, hey, she did what she's supposed to be doing. You know, we give people warnings and we try to get them redirected to get compliance. And she said, man, she's going out of her way. She's really going out of her way. But she is one working hoss, man, and I don't mean that disrespectfully. She is just in the trenches constantly working, trying to get dogs reunited with their owner or trying to get those dogs adopted.
Well, she's evidently doing a great job. It's the highest month we've had of both of those, and May adoptions is nearly, you've had 34th a year, 16 of them in May.
Yes, sir.
Pretty big.
We did have one deal, I normally tell you guys the following month, but I didn't know if you guys had heard or not, but we had a house off of Seaman Street that we removed 39 dogs from in one house, and there was 44 there.
On Seaman Street?
Yes, sir. And so we
North, south, Seaman.
we spent south, and we spent that was a morning of putting cages together and putting them in a livestock trailer so we could transport them. And SPCA in Abilene hit a home run and they said, we'll take care of one of those dogs. And they were rehomed them to the West Coast, evidently. So they went from the conditions that they were in, and none of them, I don't know what the percentage was, but the majority of them didn't have the shots that they were required to have or the health issues, and it wasn't a good deal.
34 total dogs?
Yes, sir. You could, from the street, you could tell there was an issue coming from that house. So, anyway, we took action on that. The people voluntarily surrendered them in exchange for us going lighter on their enforcement. So they came around to thinking the way we wanted them to think. And the dogs wound up with a happy story. They got adopted and hauled off. So other than that, the other thing I want to bring up to your attention for you, especially business guys, 189 business checks where guys are out, guys and girls that work for me are out checking businesses and doing what they're supposed to be doing. We've had a couple of burglaries that we're working pretty hard on. McDavid's doing a good job of running those down, and we're trying to get those solved and trying to up our patrol presence as much as we can, but we go back to the limited amount of people per shift, for a pretty good sized area, and then you figure in the calls for service, which are 304. So, basically you're talking about 10 calls for service a day. So some of those are pretty lengthy. I'll be happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
That's great. Appreciate your great work, all of you. You too, Dan. Thank you. Who's next? Fire Chief? Fire Chief.
In May, we attended 61 calls of service, dropped us down just a little bit to 1.96 calls per day. But it is keeping us hovering right there at that 2 calls a day. And I kind of put a note out here because since we're running October to September, kind of the fiscal year, for 2022, May, we concluded 388 calls for the year. So once we conclude June, at the total 6 months, we're going to be in run for over 800, possibly 900 calls. So that is going to bring us up. So 39 of those incidents occurred within the city limits and 18 outside. And I just noticed over the time, because I have all these incident analysis on my computer, and what I noticed is that percentage is just, it's holding very tight. It does not vary very much at all, if any, at the 75% in the city and 25% in the county. And 4 times we attended 4 mutual aid calls, and that average on the percentage is running, it just holds steady there. We installed 1 smoke detector. We were called out to a police event over and to assist with them, and then we ended up installing a smoke detector in that residence. We've made 10 calls after 10 o'clock at night and before 7 in the morning. We attended 3 structure fires in May, which is running a little over 3 structure fires a month. That we're intervening and hopefully, doing our part to try to save property values. 4 grass fires for May, and we're seeing those incrementally again, steadily starting to increase, and then the significance of those events are becoming. Desdemona had 4 stations out on one today, and had started to the fire behavior coming back with the weather conditions. We had 1 vehicle fire, 30 calls to assist the medics, 9 motor vehicle accidents, 3 public assist or investigation, and 1 rescue, and 1 hazardous material incident. We voted 1 member on the fire department, and our numbers are at 23, and we do have some applications that are teetering, pending. I look forward to reaching our 25 full roster soon. Somehow we lost connectivity with our time clock on May 6th. On the 6th day of the month, we had 107 volunteer hours. Just kind of randomly averaged that out, and had that stayed steady, it would come to 552 hours. So for 17 hours of every day, a volunteer was in the station, attending in the quarters, battalions, and that doesn't count Battalion 6. And again, we don't have the means to calculate. We do have volunteers that are doing an overnight program, staying the night, and so those hours aren't calculated overnight for the 24 or those long durations. Any questions on the incidents or any statistics?
Well, I want to ask what you just said. The volunteers stay overnight, you don't count those hours?
Well, we can't clock them because the time clock kicks them out at midnight, and it's just a record management nightmare to try to go back in. And what I was doing was manually clocking them out at 11:59, and then reclocking them back in at 12:01, so that it would count. And it just these hours are just when volunteers come in, they hit the clock, they stay for 4 or 5 hours, 2 hours, 30 minutes. And then they clock out. But if I was trying to keep up with that, and it just became cumbersome record management. Same way with the battalion. I was logging my hours for the overnight, and Sam Williams, when he was staffing Battalion 6 overnight, and I just put in there that battalion staff nearly 24/7. And so we're broadcasting that also to the community, to the county, that command vehicle is staffed and for any command responses in the county. But it just going in and manually manipulating the time clock just became a record management nightmare.
Okay, back up to your opening comments. You've got 2022 equals 388. What does that 388 stand for?
The calls from January 1 of 2022 to May 31st of 2022.
Just
for 2022. Because typically we count the run volume from January 1 to December 31st. But since this report started in October, it's skewed a little bit with that first quarter being in the run volume. So I was just trying to share the annual run volume for 2022.
Okay. Any other questions for Joe? Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
I had just a couple of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that was just, So we have, just to share with you, we received a couple of grants from the Abilene Community Center in which we were able to purchase 10 sets of structural boots. And then we received an additional donation from that organization, and we purchased 6 fire helmets for the volunteers. The Texas Forestry Protective Equipment Grant for $20,000. We have ordered 6 sets of structural gear and 6 sets of wildland gear. So we're really starting to shore up our protective equipment for the volunteers. The 8 county fire chiefs attended the county commission's meeting on January 14th to discuss the annual subsidy for fire protection for the county. I'm sorry, what did I say?
January.
Wow.
Oh, they're January.
No, it was June 14th, thank you. June 14th. And we've had an annual subsidy, that as far back as I looked in 2018 was 22,000. 2019 went to 23,000, and that additional 1,000 was to pay for each department's app, which is a secondary form of dispatching. And it's been 23,000, 19, 20, 21, and for 22. And so for the fiscal year 2023, we got an additional 7,000 subsidy for each department. So our annual subsidy for fire protection in the county will go to 30,000 for 23. The 2604 emergency grant, we've been approved for $4,836 in reimbursement, and that's 100% reimbursement. There's no match on that for damaged or lost equipment on the Eastland County complex. I also found an AFG grant that was open for $302. We bought $301 in EMS gloves and closed that grant out. And then the volunteers, we have purchased 22 of these Motorola radios. And now we have 2 radios or more per apparatus that remain in the rigs that provide guaranteed communication for members on the hazard zone. So a lot, not all, a lot of the members are issued take-home radios. The challenges we have is the radios either go down through the day, or as they respond to the station, they forget them in their vehicles. When we get on scene, we have no communication. So now we have apparatus assigned radios that will always be there. The Rehab 6, which is that cooling trailer, we allotted some funds from the volunteers to shore some of that up. We put in a breaker panel box with different types, so we can have like phone chargers and different stuff. I'm looking forward to showing you guys that project once it's completed. We got a hand wash station, refrigerator, lots of stuff that the volunteers just taking that project to the end of it. So that's going to be a vital. We're waiting to put for that to make its first call any day now with weather conditions. In March 16th, we had our Texas Commission on Fire Protection inspection, and we had a few non-compliant areas. The Eastland County complex started the next day, so the commissioner for our region sent me an email, and they gave us some extension of time due to the Eastland County complex, and we have brought now the Eastland Fire Department is at 100% compliant with the commission, and we got our closeout letter, and we're 100% compliant at this point. So that's it.
You guys, on the trailer, is it still got the misting system?
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering about how that mixes with the electricity.
Yeah, it's not. It won't be that saturated, but yeah, that's the point. Now all the plugs, everything is the outdoor rated, but they it was just a project to get it to here, and it's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Move adjourn.
Got a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.